good evening, and welcome to another soothing journey through the annals of history with boring history for sleep. Tonight, we delve into the hidden truths of a samurai peasant in feudal Japan and more. Allow yourself to settle comfortably, perhaps dim the lights, and let the weight of the day fade away. Close your eyes if you wish, and imagine the gentle rustle of ancient winds carrying tales from distant eras. We'll begin with the quiet rhythms of life as a humble rice farmer in the Edo period of Japan, a time when the land itself seemed to dictate the unyielding pace of existence. From there, we'll wander through stories of explorers, enigmatic artworks, and the refined halls of the elite, all unfolding at a measured pace to guide you toward restful slumber. Breathe deeply, relax your thoughts, and let the steady flow of these historical whispers envelop you as we ease into our first segment. Picture yourself stepping back in time to the 18th century, under the rule of the Tokugawa shogunate. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming rice paddies. You are a peasant farmer, bound to the soil in a small village nestled among rolling hills and misty rivers. This is the hidden truth of daily life in feudal Japan, a world of endless toil, where the cycle of seasons shapes every moment, and survival hangs on the delicate balance of nature and obligation. Imagine yourself awakening just before dawn in your modest home, a simple structure of wood and thatch, its floors covered with woven tatami mats that carry the faint, musty aroma of aged straw. The air inside is cool and slightly damp, infused with the lingering smoke from last night's small fire in the irori, the sunken hearth where you and your family gather for warmth. Outside, the first hints of light filter through the shoshi screens, paper-thin barriers that offer little protection from the chill of early morning. You rise slowly, your body already aching from yesterday's labors, dressed in rough hemp garments that scratch against your skin, practical but far from comfortable. Your day begins with the soft calls of roosters echoing through the village, a signal that the rhythm of life must resume. You step out into the misty air, the ground soft and yielding under your bare feet or simple straw sandals. The village is a cluster of similar huts, surrounded by terraced fields that stretch toward the horizon, their edges marked by narrow paths worn smooth by generations of footsteps. As a peasant, you belong to the hakusho class, the backbone of society, yet positioned at its base, below the samurai warriors who enforce the shogun's will. Your existence is governed by the bokken system, a rigid hierarchy where loyalty flows upward to the daimyo, the local lord, who claims a portion of everything you produce. With the sun barely cresting the hills, you make your way to the rice paddies. Tools in hand, a wooden hoe, perhaps a sickle, implements passed down through your family. The fields are flooded with water diverted from nearby streams, knee-deep and murky, reflecting the overcast sky like a vast, shallow mirror. You wade in, the cool water soaking your legs, a sensation that quickly turns to discomfort as mud squelches between your toes and clings to your clothes. If it's planting season, in the humid grip of spring, you bend low to transplant the young rice shoots, one by one, into the soft bed of soil. Your back curves in a steady arc, hour after hour, the repetitive motion a quiet endurance test, the air humming with the buzz of insects, and the distant toll of a temple bell marking the passage of time. You work alongside your family, your wife gathering bundles of seedlings, your children, if old enough, helping to space them evenly in rows that must be precise and orderly to ensure a bountiful yield. The work is unceasing, the rhythm of the land demanding. In summer, you weed the paddies by hand or foot, pulling at stubborn grasses that root deep in the fertile muck, while the sun beats down, drawing sweat that mixes with the humidity clinging to your skin. The scent of growing rice fills the air, a fresh, green sharpness undercut by the earthy temps of irrigation water. Yet this labor is not just for your table. Rice is the lifeblood of the realm, measured in koku, the amount needed to feed one person for a year. As a tenant farmer, you cultivate land owned by the daimyo, and in return, you pay taxes, often 40 to 60% of the harvest, delivered in polished grain to the Lord's storehouses. Imagine the weight of that burden. You grow the staple that sustains the samurai and the merchants, yet your own stores are depleted, leaving you to subsist on coarser grains like millet or barley, boiled into a simple gruel flavored with pickled vegetables, or a bit of miso if fortune allows. If fortune allows, if fortune allows, be of, you be pre you be in, to see it, in salon with end of katan of it, and you do it of beauty, back to I'm by, but I to you, but I you to you, I do it, I to put at to took it like my do it, there will you would it with. Meals are taken in brief respite, squatting by the field edge, the food plain and nourishing, but never abundant, a constant reminder of the land's generosity tempered by human decree. As midday arrives, the heat intensifies, the sky a vast blue expanse, unbroken save for drifting clouds. You pause only briefly, perhaps under the shade of a persimmon tree, sipping water from a bamboo gourd. The village community stirs around you, neighbors, exchanging quiet words over shared tasks. Children tending to livestock, like chickens or oxen in small enclosures. Cooperation is essential. Irrigation channels must be maintained collectively, dikes repaired after rains, a communal effort that binds you in quiet solidarity. Yet beneath this harmony lies the strain of obligation. The daimyo's officials patrol the paths, ensuring quotas are met, and failure invites harsh penalties, fines, forced labor, or worse. Famines lurk as a shadow, triggered by floods from swollen rivers or droughts that crack the earth, turning your fields into barren wastes. In such times, you forage for wild roots or acorns, the gnawing hunger, a silent companion through long nights. Afternoon brings more of the same toil. If it's harvest time in autumn, you sickle the golden stalks, bundling them into sheaves to dry on wooden racks, the air filled with the dry rustle of husks and the sweet, hay-like scent of ripened grain. Threshing follows, beating the bundles with flails on a hardened floor, separating grain from chaff in a cloud of dust that coats your throat and eyes. Winnowing by tossing the mixture into the breeze, letting the wind carry away the lighter debris. This is meticulous work, repeated until the rice is clean enough for tribute. Evenings draw you back home as the sun dips low, painting the paddies in soft oranges and purples. You share a meager supper by the hearth, the flickering light casting long shadows on the walls, stories of the day exchanged in low voices. Sleep comes on a thin futon laid on the tatami, shared with family, the night air seeping through cracks, carrying the distant hoot of owls or the patter of rain on the roof, but also the bite of cold winds and the need to ration food stores carefully. Festivals offer rare moments of reprieve, like the Oban honoring ancestors, with lanterns floating on rivers and quiet dances under the stars. a fleeting escape from the grind. Yet always, the weight of taxes presses down the knowledge that your labor enriches others while you scrape by. Imagine the quiet resilience required, the deep connection to the earth that sustains yet demands so much. In this world, survival is a daily negotiation with nature and authority, a life of humble endurance where each sunrise renews the unyielding routine. As we conclude this immersion into the world of the Edo period peasant, let your mind linger on the steady cadence of those ancient fields, allowing the details to fade gently into the background. As the quiet rhythm of the Japanese rice fields fades, let us drift across oceans and centuries to another time where ambition and uncertainty shaped the tides of history. Picture the year 1492, the bustling ports of Spain, alive with the creak of ships and the shouts of sailors preparing for voyages into the unknown. Though not without trials and missteps, settle deeper into your comfortable space, and let the gentle sway of a ship on open waters guide you through his tale, a narrative of exploration, persistence, and the weight of unintended consequences, told in a calm and measured voice to ease your mind. Imagine Columbus as a young man in Genoa, a port city where the scent of salt and tar clung to the air, and merchant ships from distant lands filled the docks with silks and spices. Born around 1451, he grew up weaving through crowded markets, absorbing tales of Marco Polo's journeys and the riches of the East China and the Indies, lands of gold and cinnamon. From an early age, he sailed on trading vessels across the Mediterranean, learning the art of navigation by stars and compass, his mind alight with the possibilities of uncharted routes. By his 20s, he was in Portugal, a hub of maritime innovation, where he studied maps and treatises, convinced that sailing west across the Atlantic could reach Asia faster than rounding Africa's Cape of Good Hope, a route the Portuguese were mastering. Picture him in the 1480s. His proposal was bold: to sail west to the Indies, bypassing the Ottoman-controlled land routes that choked European trade. The concept was not entirely new. Ancient scholars, like Ptolemy, had described the Earth as a sphere, but Columbus's calculations underestimated the globe's size. Portugal's king dismissed him, wary of his demands for titles and wealth. But in Spain, after years of persistence, Columbus found patrons in King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. They were flush with confidence from the recent conquest of Granada, eager to expand their Catholic empire. In a quiet chamber, scented with wax candles, they agreed to fund his voyage, granting him the title of Admiral of the Ocean Sea and a share of any riches discovered. Now, envision August 3rd, 1492, at the port of Palos, 3 ships: the Santa Maria, a sturdy carrack with billowing sails; the Pinta, swift and sleek; and the Nina, small but reliable, bob gently in the harbor, their holds packed with barrels of salted fish, hardtack, and wine. Columbus, standing on the Santa Maria's deck, feels the weight of command as his crew of about 90 men, a mix of seasoned sailors and reluctant recruits, prepare to depart. The air is warm, tinged with the briny temps of the sea, and as the tide turns, the ships slip from the harbor, their sails catching the wind. Guided by his flawed maps and an unyielding belief in his mission, the first weeks are calm but tense. The crew, unaccustomed to such a long journey without sight of land, murmurs of mutiny as days stretch into weeks, understating the miles to quell their fears. By early October, the men grow restless, the monotony of salt pork and the creaking of the ship's timbers wearing on their nerves. They scan the horizon for signsbirds, floating branches, anything to suggest land. Columbus, maintaining a steady demeanor, points to flocks of petrels and drifting seaweed, assuring them the Indies are near. On October 10th, tensions peak, with some threatening to turn back. But Columbus promises rewards for the first to sight land, calming their unrest for a moment longer. Then, in the pre-dawn hours of October 12th, a cry pierces the quiet. Spots a faint silhouette under the moonlight. Land. The ship's anchor off a small island, which Columbus names San Salvador. Its exact location still debated today, perhaps in the Bahamas. As dawn breaks, imagine the scene: a shore fringed with palms, the air warm and fragrant with unfamiliar blossoms. Columbus steps onto the beach, his boots sinking into white sand, carrying the royal banner. He kneels, claiming the land for Spain, while the native people, curious and cautious, watch from the trees, their lives unknowingly on the cusp of transformation. They offer parrots and cotton threads, receiving glass beads and hawk bells in return. A fleeting moment of exchange before the tides of conquest would follow. This first voyage continues for months as Columbus explores the Caribbean, Hispaniola, Cuba, mistaking them for outlying parts of Asia. He marvels at the lush landscapes, the gentle rivers winding through forests, and the generosity, though he notes their lack of iron weapons, already calculating their potential as subjects. Disaster strikes when the Santa Maria runs aground on Christmas Day, its timbers splintered on a reef. With the help, the crew salvages what they can, building a fort called La Navidad from the wreckage, leaving 39 men behind. In January 1493, Columbus sets sail for Spain on the Nina, the Pinta, rejoining after a brief separation. The return is harrowing, battered by storms that nearly sink the fleet, but they reach Lisbon, then Palos, by March. Columbus presents his findings to the Spanish court: gold trinkets, captives, and tales of fertile lands, igniting fervor for further expeditions. His later voyages, 3 more, between 1493 and 1504, expand the scope but deepen the complexities. Imagine him navigating the Greater Antilles, founding settlements like Isabella, and facing rebellions from Spanish colonists unhappy with harsh conditions and scant riches. They suffer under encomienda systems, forced to mine gold, their numbers dwindling from disease and exploitation. Columbus, once hailed, grapples with accusations of mismanagement. By his 3rd voyage, he's sent back to Spain in chains, though later pardoned. His final years are spent in declining health, petitioning for promised titles, dying in 1506, still believing he'd reached Asia's edges. As we leave Columbus, picture him in his later days, a man of relentless drive, his legacy a paradox, opening new worlds while sowing seeds of upheaval. His story, like the sea he crossed, is vast and shifting, a tale to ponder as we drift to our next chapter.
As the sails of Columbus's ships fade into the horizon, let us journey further back to a time when the world was wilder, and humanity's voice was etched not in words, but in images on stone. Picture yourself in what is now southern France, some 17,000 years ago, during the Upper Paleolithic era. Welcome to Lascaux, a hidden gallery of prehistoric art, where ancient hands painted vivid animals across cavern walls, leaving a legacy that whispers of ritual, survival, and mystery. Settle deeper into your place of rest and let the soft echo of dripping water and the faint glow of torchlight guide you through this serene exploration, crafted to calm your mind as it wanders through the shadows of human beginnings. Imagine stepping into the cave, your bare feet brushing against cool, uneven rock, the air growing heavier with the musty scent of ancient minerals. In your hand, you hold a simple torch, a bundle of twigs dipped in animal fat, casting a flickering golden light that dances across the walls. As your eyes adjust, you see them, sweeping murals of aurochs, horses, and deer, their forms rendered in ochre, charcoal, and hematite, colors vivid even after thousands of years. The animals seem to move in the torch's glow, their curved horns and graceful limbs capturing motion with an artistry that feels alive, as if the stone itself breathes with their spirit. The Lascaux Caves, discovered in 1940 by a group of boys chasing their dog near Montignac, contain over 600 paintings and 1,500 engravings, spread across chambers like the Hall of the Bulls and the Axial Gallery. Picture the largest aurochs, a massive bull stretching nearly 18 feet across the wall. It's black, and red hues bold against the pale stone, its head lowered as if charging through an eternal plain. Nearby, horses gallop in a frieze, their manes flowing, while a lone bear, rare in the art, peers from a shadowed recess. The artists, likely Cro-Magnon people, used natural pigments ground into powders, applied with fingers, reeds, or animal hairbrushes, sometimes blown through hollow bones to create soft gradients. Scaffolds of wood or natural ledges allowed them to reach high walls, their work illuminated by stone lamps filled with juniper wicks and fat, casting a warm, wavering light. Now consider the mystery of why these images exist. The caves were not homes. Archaeological evidence shows no signs of prolonged habitation, only scattered tools and animal bones. Instead, Lascaux may have been a sanctuary, a place of ritual where people gathered to connect with forces beyond the physical world. One theory suggests the paintings were part of hunting magic, a way to invoke success by capturing the essence of animals vital to survival. Aurochs, powerful and dangerous, were a prized quarry, their meat and hides sustaining small bands of hunter-gatherers. By painting them, perhaps the artists believed they could ensure plentiful game, the act of creation a quiet plea to the spirits of the wild. Imagine yourself navigating the narrow shaft of the dead man, a claustrophobic passage where a single, enigmatic scene unfolds. A stick-figure human, possibly a shaman, lies beside a wounded bison, a bird on a pole nearby. The image, unlike the vibrant herds elsewhere, feels narrative, perhaps depicting a trance or a mythic encounter. Some scholars propose Lascaux was a site of spiritual ceremonies where shamans entered altered states to commune with animal spirits, the cave's darkness and echoes amplifying their visions. The bird, a recurring motif in Paleolithic art, might symbolize a soul's journey, a bridge between worlds. Another layer of intrigue lies in the abstract symbols, dots, grids, and chevrons that accompany the animals. In the Axial Gallery, red dots cluster near a horse, while a checkered pattern frames a stag. These could be early tallies, maps of stars, or even a proto-writing system, their meaning lost to time. Recent studies suggest some paintings align with constellations, the Pleiades perhaps mirrored in a cluster of dots, tying the art to the night sky that guided these people's lives. The cave's preservation, sealed by a landslide until modern times, kept the colors pristine, but their exposure to air and visitors has since caused fungal damage. closing Lascaux to all but researchers, its replica now standing as a testament to its allure. Picture the artists themselves, men and women of a nomadic world, their lives shaped by the rhythm of seasons and migrations. They hunted with flint-tipped spears, gathered berries and roots, and wove baskets from reeds, their campsites glowing with firelight under starry skies. Their tools burins for engraving, pigments sourced from distant cliffs, show a deep knowledge of their environment, a harmony with the land that the paintings reflect. Were the artists chosen for their skill, or did entire communities contribute, children perhaps adding smaller marks? The hand stencils, created by blowing pigment over pressed palms, feel intimate, a signature of presence across millennia, as if saying, "I was here." As you linger in this subterranean world, imagine the silence broken only by the soft drip of water. The painting's a timeless gallery of a people's dreams and fears. The mystery of Lascaux endures not just in what the images meant, but in how they speak to humanity's urge to create, to leave a mark in the face of an untamed world. Let this thought settle gently, a quiet wonder to carry you forward. As the shadowed walls of Lascaux fade into the depths of time, let us drift across continents and millennia to the sun-drenched banks of the Nile, where the pulse of ancient Egypt beats in the rhythm of its rivers and rituals. Picture yourself in the New Kingdom around 1500 BCE in the bustling city of Thebes, where mud-brick homes cluster beneath the golden glow of sandstone temples. Here, we step into the life of a vizier, an elite official who wields power second only to the pharaoh, navigating a world of opulence and responsibility. Settle deeper into your place of calm, and let the soft lapping of the Nile's waters and the scent of lotus flowers guide you through this serene exploration, crafted to soothe your mind as it wanders through the refined halls of Egyptian society. Imagine yourself as Ramos, a historical vizier under Pharaoh Amenhotep III, awakening in your spacious villa on the Nile's east bank. Your home is a marvel of architecture, its whitewashed walls adorned with frescoes of papyrus marshes and ibises, cooled by breezes channeled through high, slatted windows. You rise from a low wooden bed draped with fine linen, the air carrying the faint sweetness of myrrh from a smoldering brazier. Servants, their footsteps soft on polished floors, bring you a breakfast of barley bread, figs, and a goblet of date wine served on a low table inlaid with ebony and ivory. Your attire reflects your status, a pleated kilt of white linen, a broad collar necklace of faience beads, and sandals of woven reed, your shaved head anointed with scented oils to gleam in the morning light. Your day begins with the quiet hum of activity as you step into a courtyard shaded by sycamore trees, where scribes await with papyrus scrolls and reed pens. As vizier, you are the pharaoh's chief administrator, overseeing justice, agriculture, and royal projects across Upper Egypt. Your first task is to review reports from nomarchs, regional governors detailing grain yields and labor disputes. You sit on a cushioned chair, the air warm and fragrant with blooming jasmine, as a scribe reads aloud in a steady cadence, his voice blending with the distant calls of boatmen on the river. You dictate responses, your words measured, ensuring taxes are collected without sparking unrest, a delicate balance in a land where the Nile's flood dictates prosperity. Mid-morning, you travel to the royal palace, a sprawling complex of columned halls and lotus-filled pools, its walls painted with scenes of Pharaoh smiting enemies. You ride in a carrying chair borne by retainers, the canopy shielding you from the sun's glare, the path lined with date palms swaying gently. At court, you advise Amenhotep III, who lounges on a gilded throne, his presence divine yet approachable. Today, the agenda includes a planned obelisk for Karnak Temple, requiring quarries in Aswan to be mobilized. You coordinate with overseers, ensuring granite is cut and floated downriver, a task demanding thousands of laborers whose lives contrast sharply with your own. Your counsel is calm, your authority unquestioned, yet you tread carefully, aware of court intrigues and rival nobles vying for favor. By noon, you return to your estate for a meal in a breezy hall, reclining on a woven mat as servants present roasted duck, lentils stewed with garlic, and pomegranates, the flavors rich yet balanced, paired with barley beer poured from clay jars. Musicians play softly on harps and lutes, their melodies mingling with the rustle of palm fronds outside. This is a moment of respite, but even here, your mind works, planning inspections of granaries to ensure surplus for lean years. Your role as vizier includes famine prevention, a sacred duty tying your prestige to the land's fertility, symbolized by the Ankh amulets you wear, tokens of life and eternity. Afternoon draws you to the Hall of Justice, a column chamber where petitioners seek your verdict on disputes, land boundaries, theft, or marriage contracts. You sit beneath a canopy, a fan-bearer cooling you with ostrich plumes as you listen to each case with patience. Your rulings grounded in Ma'at, the principle of harmony that underpins Egyptian law. A farmer pleads for his field encroached by a neighbor. You consult a cadastral map etched on papyrus and restore his rights, your voice firm yet kind, the crowd murmuring approval. Justice dispensed, you feel the weight of your role, a linchpin in a society that reveres order above all. As evening approaches, you attend a banquet hosted by a fellow noble, a lavish affair in a villa aglow with alabaster lamps. Guests recline on cushioned benches, adorned in pleated gowns and wigs perfumed with wax cones that melt slowly, releasing fragrance. Servants offer plates of honeyed cakes and spiced gazelle, while dancers sway to the rhythm of sistrums, their anklets jingling. You converse with priests and generals, discussing trade with Punt for incense or campaigns in Nubia, your words chosen to maintain alliances without revealing too much. The air is warm, heavy with lotus and wine, and as the stars emerge, you offer a toast to the pharaoh's health, the clink of cups a soft echo of your shared loyalty. Night finds you back in your villa, the Nile a silver ribbon under the moon. You walk through your garden, where irrigation channels feed beds of mandrakes and lily, the air cool and alive with cricket songs. A scribe reads correspondence by lamplight, letters from Memphis, reports of canal repairs, as you dictate replies, your voice low, blending with the night stillness. Retiring to your chamber, you lie on your linen-draped bed, the day's duties settling like dust. Your life, one of privilege and purpose, stands in stark contrast to the laborers who quarry stone or plow fields, their sweat sustaining the empire you administer. As we leave the vizier's world, let the gentle flow of the Nile carry you forward, its steady current a quiet promise of rest. As the golden halls of Thebes recede into the twilight of memory, let us journey to a vast and timeless landscape, where the horizon stretches unbroken under a relentless sun. Picture yourself in the Sahara Desert around the 1st century CE, a world of shifting dunes and fleeting oases, where life is shaped by the rhythm of survival and the bond between human and beast. You are a camel herder, a nomadic soul among the early Tuareg or their precursors, guiding your herd across this arid expanse in search of water and trade. Settle deeper into your place of rest, and let the soft rustle of sand and the distant bleat of camels carry you through this tranquil tale, woven to ease your mind into the gentle cadence of a desert night. Imagine awakening at dawn in a low tent of woven goat hair, its coarse fabric taut against wooden poles, offering scant shade from the creeping heat. The air is dry, tinged with the musky scent of camels and the faint, acrid bite of last night's fire, now reduced to embers. You rise from a mat of palm fronds, your body clad in a loose robe of indigo-dyed cloth, already stiff with dust and a tagelmust. A long scarf wound around your head and face to shield against wind-blown sand. Outside, the desert stretches endlessly, a sea of golden dunes sculpted by the wind, punctuated by thorny acacias and the occasional shimmer of a mirage. Your herd, perhaps a dozen dromedaries, huddles nearby, their humped silhouettes dark against the rising sun, chewing cud with a rhythmic, hollow sound. Your day begins with the care of these animals, your lifeline in this unforgiving land. You approach the lead camel, a weathered female with a gentle sway, her coarse hair matted from months of travel. Kneeling beside her, you milk her into a leather pouch. The warm, frothy liquid is staple for your family, its rich, slightly salty taste sustaining you through lean days. The task is methodical, your hands moving in a steady rhythm as you murmur soft words to keep her calm, the desert silence broken only by the low grunts of the herd and the distant cry of a falcon. Once the milking is done, you check their hooves for stones or sores, rubbing them with fat to prevent cracking, a task requiring patience as the camels shift restlessly, their long necks craning toward sparse patches of saltbush. With the sun climbing, you prepare to move, for staying still in the Sahara invites depletion. Your family, perhaps a wife weaving baskets, children tending smaller livestock like goats, helps dismantle the camp, folding the tent and loading it onto a camel's wooden saddle, secured with ropes of braided hemp. The load includes water skins, dried dates and trade goods, slabs of salt from distant mines, destined for markets in the Sahel. You guide the lead camel, grasping a rope tied to her nose peg, your bare feet sinking into sand that's already warm, each step a negotiation with the terrain. The herd follows in a loose line, their bells jingling faintly, a sound that blends with the whisper of wind carving ripples across the dunes. The journey is dictated by the stars and memory, for the Sahara offers few landmarks. You navigate by the position of Orion at night or the angle of shadows at noon, recalling tales from elders about hidden wells and caravan routes. The heat intensifies, the air shimmering. Your tagelmust damp with sweat as you ration sips from a water skin, its contents tepid in tasting of leather. The camels plod on, their padded feet splaying to distribute weight, adapted to this world in ways you envy. Hours pass, the monotony broken by the sight of a gazelle darting across a dry wadi, or the faint green of an oasis on the horizon, promising tamarind trees and a chance to refill your stores. Midday brings a brief halt under a lone acacia, its sparse canopy offering a sliver of shade. You unload the camels, letting them rest, their legs folded beneath them like great patient statues. Lunch is simple, a handful of dates, their sticky sweetness cut by a sip of camel milk, eaten cross-legged on a woven mat. Your children play nearby, tossing stones in a game of skill, their laughter a rare softness in this harsh world. You scan the horizon for signs of raiders, other tribes who might covet your herd or salt, your hand resting on a short dagger tucked into your belt, though violence is a last resort in a culture that values negotiation over conflict. Afternoon resumes the trek, the dunes giving way to a gravel plain, its surface littered with blackened stones that radiate heat. The camel's endurance is your salvation, carrying loads where horses would falter. Their humps stores of fat, not water sustaining them through weeks without forage. You aim for a known oasis, perhaps Tagat, where a spring bubbles beneath date palms. Arrival is a relief. You water the herd, their slurping loud in the stillness, and refill your skins, the water cool and faintly mineral. You pitch camp, the tent's dark interior a refuge as the sun sets, painting the sky in hues of amber and violet. Supper is millet porridge mixed with dried camel meat, shared around a small fire, the stars emerging like scattered jewels above. Night falls, and with it, the desert's chill. You sit by the fire, repairing a saddle or sharpening a knife, the task's repetitive, grounding. Stories are told, legends of jinn haunting forgotten wells, or the great salt caravans of old when hundreds of camels crossed Timbuktu. Sleep comes on the same palm mat, the tent filled with the soft breathing of your family and the occasional snort of a camel outside. The Sahara's vastness surrounds you, its silence profound, yet your life is tethered to the herd, the trade, and the unwritten maps that guide you through this sea of sand. This existence, one of resilience and adaptation, binds you to the desert's pulse, a rhythm as old as the dunes themselves. As we leave this nomadic world, let the soft tread of camels carry you gently onward. As the vast Sahara fades into the starlit night, let us cross continents and centuries to a land of rolling fields and fortified towns, where the air carries the scent of wood smoke and the distant clang of armor. Picture yourself in 15th century France amid the turmoil of the 100 Years' War, a time when kingdoms clashed and a young woman's visions altered the course of history. We now follow the story of Joan of Arc, a peasant girl whose faith and courage led her from a quiet village to the heart of battle, only to face a tragic fate. Settle deeper into your place of calm, and let the soft rustle of leaves and the murmur of a crowd guide you through this tranquil narrative, woven to ease your mind as it wanders through a tale of conviction and sacrifice. Imagine a small village in Domremy in the Duchy of Lorraine, around 1412. Here, Joan is born to a family of modest farmers. Their home a stone cottage with a thatched roof, warmed by a hearth where bread bakes on flat stones. The air is thick with the earthy aroma of hay and the faint sweetness of apples from a nearby orchard. As a child, Joan tends sheep and spins wool, her days filled with the rhythm of rural life, milking cows, gathering eggs, and joining neighbors in prayers at the village church, its bell tolling softly across the fields. Yet, even as a girl, she is different, her eyes often distant, as if listening to voices only she can hear. By age 13, she begins to experience visions, radiant figures of Saint Michael, Saint Catherine, and Saint Margaret, who speak to her in the quiet of gardens or under the shade of an ancient oak, urging her to save France and crown its rightful king. Picture France in 1429, fractured by war. The English, allied with Burgundians, hold swaths of territory, besieging Orleans and threatening the heart of the Valois kingdom. The Dauphin, Charles VII, remains uncrowned, his claim weakened by rivalries and despair. Joan, now 17, feels her calling intensify. She leaves Domremy, her simple tunic and cropped hair marking her as a figure both humble and resolute, and seeks an audience with the local lord, Robert de Baudricourt. Her persistence, her voice steady, her conviction unshakable, wins his support. Imagine her standing in a drafty hall, the air heavy with wax and ink, convincing hardened men that a peasant girl has been sent by God to lift the siege of Orleans. Escorted to Chinon, she meets Charles in a crowded court, picking him out among decoys, her words piercing the skepticism. "I am sent to crown you king." By spring, Joan is armed, clad in a suit of plate armor that gleams dully in the morning mist, a white banner embroidered with lily and angels fluttering at her side. She rides to Orleans, her presence electrifying the French troops, who see in her a symbol of divine favor. Picture her on the battlefield, not wielding a sword but rallying soldiers with shouts, her banner a beacon amid the chaos of arrows and cannon smoke. The air is sharp with the tang of metal and the cries of the wounded, yet Joan moves with purpose, urging the French to press forward. In May 1429, after days of fierce assaults, Orleans is freed, the English retreating, their morale shattered. Joan's role is less tactical than inspirational, her faith kindling hope in a weary army, her voice cutting through the din like a clear bell. Now, envision the march to Reims, where Charles must be crowned to solidify his claim. Joan leads the way, towns like Troyes surrendering at her approach, their gates opening to avoid her divine wrath. In July, in Reims Cathedral, the air thick with incense and the glow of stained glass, Charles is anointed with holy oil, Joan standing nearby, tears in her eyes as her vision comes to pass. The moment is fleeting, though, as war persists. She presses for Paris, but the assault fails, and a crossbow bolt wounds her shoulder, the pain a sharp reminder of her mortality. Yet she rises, her resolve unbroken, urging the troops onward, her banner catching the wind like a sail on a stormy sea. By 1430, Joan's fortunes shift. Picture her captured at Compiègne, betrayed by Burgundian allies who sell her to the English for a ransom. Imprisoned in Rouen, she faces a tribunal of pro-English clergy, their chamber cold and shadowed, the air heavy with damp stone and suspicion. Accused of heresy and witchcraft, she endures relentless questioning, her vision scrutinized, her male attire deemed sinful. Imagine her in a cell, chained to a wooden bench, the straw beneath her damp with mildew, yet answering with clarity, her voice steady. "I am sent by God." The trial, more political than spiritual, seeks to discredit Charles's legitimacy. In May 1431, at age 19, she is convicted and led to the stake in Rouen's marketplace, the crowd hushed, the air thick with the scent of pitch and smoke. Her final words call for Jesus, her courage a quiet defiance as the flames rise, her story sealed in martyrdom. Joan's legacy lingers, her canonization centuries later a testament to her impact. She became a symbol of French unity, her life a blend of faith and action that reshaped a nation's course. As we leave her, picture the fields of Domremy, the oak where her visions began, its leaves whispering in the breeze, a quiet echo of her enduring spirit. As the echoes of Joan of Arc's courage fade into the fields of France, let us journey back to a time when legends were born amidst bronze and stone, in a land where gods and heroes walked the earth. Picture yourself in Bronze Age Greece around 1600 BCE, standing before the towering walls of Mycenae, a citadel perched on a rocky hill in the Peloponnese. These massive structures, built with stones so vast they were later called Cyclopean, guard a civilization of warriors and artisans, their secrets unearthed by modern hands. Settle deeper into your place of rest, and let the soft hum of wind through olive groves and the distant clink of bronze guide you through this tranquil exploration, crafted to soothe your mind as it wanders through the mysteries of a heroic age. Imagine approaching Mycenae at dusk, the sun casting long shadows across a rugged landscape of scrub-covered hills and gnarled trees. The air is warm, scented with wild thyme and the faint tang of dust kicked up by your sandals on the worn path. Before you rise the citadel's walls, constructed from limestone boulders, some weighing as much as 10 tons, fitted together without mortar in a technique that defies the tools of the time. The stones, rough-hewn yet precisely aligned, create a fortress that seems to grow from the earth itself, its silhouette imposing against the fading light. Later Greeks, awed by their scale, believed only the mythical Cyclopes, one-eyed giants, could have built such walls, a testament to their enduring enigma. You pause at the Lion Gate, the main entrance, its massive lintel crowned by a triangular relief of 2 lions flanking a column, their heads lost to time but their bodies carved with a grace that hints at royal power. Passing through, you enter a world of narrow passages and steep ramps, the air cooler within the walls carrying the faint mustiness of ancient stone. Mycenae was the heart of a civilization named Mycenaean by archaeologists that dominated Greece from roughly 1600 to 1100 BCE, known for its palaces, trade networks, and warrior culture. This was the age of Homer's epics, where figures like Agamemnon, king of Mycenae, were said to lead armies against Troy, their deeds blending history with myth. Consider the mystery of how these walls were built. The stones, quarried from nearby hills, were likely moved using sledges, levers, and sheer human labor, dragged across wooden rollers by teams of workers under the sun's relentless glare. Imagine the scene: men chanting in rhythm, their tunics soaked with sweat, as overseers direct the placement of each block, the clatter of tools echoing across the valley. The walls, up to 40 feet thick in places, were not just defensive, but symbolic, proclaiming Mycenae's might to allies and enemies alike. Yet their construction raises questions. How did a society with bronze tools and no beasts of burden beyond oxen achieve such precision? Some suggest ramps and counterweights, others point to communal effort over generations, but the exact methods remain a quiet puzzle, buried in the dust of millennia. Within the citadel, archaeological discoveries deepen the intrigue. Picture the grave circles, royal burial grounds just inside the walls, excavated by Heinrich Schliemann in the 1870s. Schliemann, inspired by Homer, uncovered shaft graves filled with treasures, gold masks, including the famous Mask of Agamemnon, embossed with stern features, bronze swords inlaid with lapis lazuli, and cups of alabaster and silver, their craftsmanship rivaling that of Egypt or Mesopotamia. The air in these digs would have been heavy with earth and anticipation, each find revealing a society of wealth and violence. The bodies, adorned with diadems and breastplates, suggest kings or chieftains, their funerals marked by offerings of wine and slaughtered horses, a ritual to honor their passage to the afterlife. Now, wander to the palace atop the hill, its megaron a great hall with a central hearth open to the sky, its walls painted with frescoes of warriors and chariots, faded but vivid in their day. The air here would have been rich with the scent of olive oil from lamps and the savory aroma of roasted mutton from feasts. The Mycenaeans, skilled in linear B-script, recorded tributes of wool and grain on clay tablets, their bureaucracy as sophisticated as their art. Yet the walls themselves hint at a culture under threat, built to withstand sieges from rival cities like tyrants or invaders from the sea. Some scholars link Mycenae's decline around 1200 BCE to earthquakes, others to internal strife or the mysterious sea peoples, leaving the citadel abandoned, its stones silent witnesses to a lost world. The wall's cultural resonance adds another layer. In Homer's Iliad, Mycenae is rich in gold, home to Agamemnon, whose feud with Achilles sparks the Trojan War. Were these walls his, or do they belong to an earlier era, their legends woven by later bards? Archaeological evidence, pottery, weapons, and trade goods from Crete and Cyprus shows Mycenae as a hub of exchange, its influence stretching across the Aegean. The lions above the gate, possibly symbols of divine protection, echo motifs from Hittite art, suggesting cultural ties far beyond Greece. Yet the wall's endurance, surviving seismic tremors that toppled palaces, speaks to a resilience that captivates, their stones standing as sentinels of a time when mortals dared to rival gods. As you linger before these cyclopean giants, imagine the hands that shaped them, the lives that unfolded in their shadow. The mystery of Mycenae is not just in its construction, but in its place in human memory, a bridge between history and myth, whispering of a world both grand and fleeting. Let this thought settle gently, a quiet wonder to guide you forward. As the ancient stones of Mycenae fade into the hills of Greece, let us journey eastward to a vast empire where the sun rises over golden plains and bustling cities. Picture yourself in the Achaemenid Empire around the 5th century BCE in the satrapy of Lydia, with its capital at Sardis. Here, you are a satrap, a governor appointed by the great king to oversee a province, living a life of splendor amid the intricate web of Persian administration. Settle deeper into your place of rest, and let the soft clink of goblets and the faint scent of saffron guide you through this tranquil exploration, crafted to soothe your mind as it wanders through the refined world of an imperial elite. Imagine awakening in your palace, a sprawling complex of mud brick and cedar, its walls draped with tapestries woven with threads of crimson and gold. The air is cool at dawn, carrying the fragrance of roses from the paradise garden beyond your chamber, where fountains murmur in the early light. You rise from a cushioned bed, its frame inlaid with ivory, and don a flowing robe of fine linen, dyed purple with rare Tyrian dye, a mark of your rank. Servants, their footsteps silent on polished floors, bring a tray of barley cakes, pistachios, and a cup of diluted wine, served on a silver platter that gleams softly in the morning glow. Your day begins in the Apadana, a grand audience hall supported by columns topped with carved bulls, their stone eyes gazing over a floor of glazed tiles. You sit on a throne-like chair, its arms carved with griffins, as scribes and messengers approach, their voices low and deferential. As satrap, you govern Lydia, a wealthy province known for its gold dust from the Pactolus River and its role as a trade hub linking east and west. Your first task is to review tribute rolls bales of wool, jars of olive oil, and ingots of electrum recorded on parchment by scribes using Aramaic script. The air is warm, scented with wax and ink, as you dictate orders to ensure the king's road, a vital artery from Susa to Sardis, is maintained with fresh horses and supplies for royal couriers. Mid-morning, you ride out to inspect a nearby garrison, your horse adorned with a saddle cloth of embroidered silk, its hooves kicking up dust on a road lined with cypress trees. Your retinue guards in scale armor, Their spears glinting follows closely, the air alive with the jingle of harnesses and the distant bleat of goats. At the fort, you meet with commanders, discussing defenses against nomadic raiders from the steppe, your words measured to inspire loyalty without revealing the pressures of pleasing the distant king, Darius or Xerxes, whose decrees arrive sealed with his seal. You approve repairs to the walls, ensuring Lydia remains a secure link in the empire's vast chain. By noon, you return to the palace for a meal in a shaded courtyard, reclining on a couch draped with furs. Servants present platters of roasted lamb seasoned with cumin, lentils with coriander, and pomegranates split open to reveal their ruby seeds, paired with wine poured from a golden rhyton shaped like a ram's head. Musicians play softly on lutes and tambourines, their melodies blending with the trickle of water from a nearby pool. This is a moment to entertain local nobles who arrive in tunics adorned with silver thread, their conversation turning to trade with Greece or the latest royal edict granting religious freedoms to subject peoples, a hallmark of Achaemenid tolerance. You listen, your smile diplomatic, aware that every word shapes alliances in this intricate court. Afternoon draws you to the treasury, a fortified chamber where gold coins stamped with the king's likeness, the daric, are counted and stored in clay jars. The air is heavy with the metallic tang of wealth and the faint mustiness of stored grain, a reminder of your duty to fund the empire's wars and festivals. You oversee allocations for a new bridge over the Halys River, a project to ease caravan traffic, consulting engineers who sketch plans on wax tablets. Your role balances local needs with imperial demands, a tightrope walked with careful decrees, your authority backed by the king's distant but absolute power. As evening falls, you host a banquet in the palace's great hall, its ceiling painted with stars, the air thick with saffron and frankincense from braziers. Guests, merchants, priests, and visiting envoys recline on cushions, savoring delicacies like stuffed quails and honeyed figs served by attendants in white tunics. A storyteller recites tales of Cyrus the Great, founder of the empire, his words weaving a tapestry of conquest and mercy. You raise a goblet, toasting the king's health, the clink of metal echoing softly, a gesture that binds your guests to the empire's glory. The night deepens, the hall aglow with oil lamps, and you steer discussions toward trade routes to India, your mind ever on Lydia's prosperity. Night finds you in your garden, strolling along paths lined with tamarisk and myrtle, the air cool and alive with the chirp of crickets. A scribe reads dispatches by torchlight news of a rebellion in Egypt, requests for troops, while you dictate responses, your voice calm, blending with the rustle of leaves. Retiring to your chamber, you lie on your silken bed, the day's duties settling like sand after a storm. Your life, one of luxury and influence, contrasts starkly with the farmers and shepherds of Lydia, whose labor fills your coffers, their lives a distant echo of the empire's grandeur. As we leave the satrap's palace, let the gentle flow of the fountain carry you forward, its murmur a quiet promise of rest. As the opulent halls of the Persian satrap fade into the starlit gardens of Sardis, let us cross oceans and centuries to a land of sprawling fields and heavy labor, where the air hums with the weight of toil and constraint. Picture yourself in 18th century colonial Virginia around 1750, on a tobacco plantation along the James River. You are an enslaved cotton picker, bound to the land and its demands, your days shaped by the unyielding rhythm of the crop and the overseer's watch. Settle deeper into your place of rest, and let the soft rustle of cotton bolls and the distant murmur of a river guide you through this tranquil yet sobering narrative, crafted to soothe your mind as it wanders through the quiet struggles of a difficult past. Imagine awakening before dawn in a cramped wooden cabin, its walls of rough-hewn logs chinked with clay, the air thick with the musty scent of straw bedding and the faint smoke from a dying fire. You rise from a pallet on the dirt floor, shared with others, your body stiff from yesterday's labor, dressed in a coarse Osnaburg shirt and breeches, patched and frayed from months of use. The cabin, one of several in the plantation's quarters, houses your family or fellow workers, their breathing a soft rhythm in the pre-dawn stillness. Outside, the air is cool, carrying the damp, earthy aroma of the river and the sharp tang of tobacco curing in nearby sheds, a reminder of the plantation's purpose. Your day begins as the first light touches the fields, the overseer's horn cutting through the quiet, a signal to gather your tools, a canvas sack slung over your shoulder, and join the line of workers trudging toward the cotton rows. The plantation stretches across acres, its fields a patchwork of green and white, bordered by split-rail fences and shaded by occasional oaks. You are part of a system that fuels Virginia's economy, where cotton and tobacco are king, but your role is one of endurance, your labor claimed without choice. The soil beneath your bare feet is soft, still dewy, but soon it will warm under the sun, clinging to your skin as you move through the rows. The work is relentless, a steady cadence of bending and picking. Picture yourself among the cotton plants, their stalks prickly, their bolls hard, green pods splitting to reveal soft white fibers sharp with thorns that nick your fingers, drawing tiny beads of blood. You pluck each boll with care, stuffing it into your sack, the motion repetitive, your back curved in a low arc as the sun climbs higher. The air grows heavy, humid, filled with the sweet, slightly musky scent of cotton and the buzz of cicadas in the distance. The overseer, mounted on a horse or pacing the field's edge, watches closely, his whip coiled but ever present, urging you to meet the daily quota, perhaps 20 pounds of picked cotton, a weight that feels heavier with each hour. Morning stretches into midday, the heat pressing down, your shirt damp with sweat, the sack growing cumbersome as it fills. You pause only briefly, squatting in the shade of a plant to sip water from a gourd passed among the workers, its contents warm and tasting faintly of earth. Meals are sparse, a midday ration of cornmeal mush, sometimes mixed with molasses, eaten with your hands from a wooden bowl, shared in silence or low murmurs with others in your gang. The field is alive with quiet sounds, the rustle of leaves as hands move through the plants, the soft thump of bowls hitting sacks, and the occasional call of a child tasked with fetching water or gathering stray fibers. Afternoon brings more of the same, the sun now a fierce presence, its glare reflecting off the white cotton like a mirror. Your fingers, calloused but sore, work mechanically, though the thorns still sting, and the weight of the sack pulls at your shoulder. The overseer's voice breaks the monotony, barking at stragglers or noting weights as sacks are emptied into baskets at the field's end. Falling short of the quota risks punishment, extra hours, reduced rations, or worse, a lash that leaves welts but no lasting marks, a calculated cruelty to preserve your ability to work. You push through, driven by the need to protect yourself and those you care for, your thoughts drifting to moments of respite, like the songs sung softly at night, their melodies a thread of resistance and hope. As evening nears, The sky softens to hues of orange and lavender, the air cooling slightly, though the humidity lingers. You finish your row, hauling the sack to the weighing shed, where the overseer tallies your yield, his quill scratching on a ledger by a lantern light. The shed smells of raw cotton and sweat, its floor dusted with stray fibers. If your weight meets the mark, you're dismissed. If not, you may face a curt order to return at dawn for more. You walk back to the quarters, your body aching, the path lit by fireflies and the glow of candles in other cabins. Supper is another simple meal: cornbread, perhaps a bit of salt pork if the master allows, shared around a small fire, the air now alive with the chirp of crickets and the low voices of others recounting the day. Night offers a brief escape. You sit outside, the stars a vast canopy above, joining in quiet talk or a hummed spiritual. The words carrying stories of freedom or faith, a subtle defiance woven into their cadence. Sleep comes on the same hard pallet, the cabin's darkness broken only by slivers of moonlight through cracks in the walls. Your life is one of unceasing labor, bound by forces beyond your control, yet marked by moments of community, shared meals, whispered tales, or the touch of a loved one's hand that sustain you through the endless cycle of the fields. As we leave this world of toil, let the gentle sway of the cotton plants carry you forward, their quiet rustle a soft promise of rest. As the cotton fields of colonial Virginia fade into the twilight, let us journey back to a time of conquest and ambition, where the clash of armies reshaped the ancient world. Picture yourself in the 4th century BCE in the rugged hills of Macedon, a kingdom on the edge of Greece, where a young king dreamed of an empire that would span continents. We now follow the story of Alexander the Great, whose relentless drive and tactical genius carried him from Pella to the banks of the Indus, leaving a legacy that echoes through history. Settle deeper into your place of rest, and let the soft clatter of bronze shields and the distant murmur of campfires guide you through this tranquil narrative, crafted to soothe your mind as it wanders through a saga of triumphs and fleeting glory. Imagine a young Alexander, born in 356 BCE, growing up in the shadow of his father, Philip II, a warrior king who forged Macedon into a power through discipline and diplomacy. The air in Pella, the capital, is sharp with the scent of pine from nearby forests and the tang of iron from forges crafting sarissas, the long pikes of the Macedonian phalanx. As a boy, Alexander is tutored by Aristotle, his mind shaped by philosophy and Homer's tales of heroes, his favorite, the swift-footed Achilles. Picture him in a sunlit courtyard, his auburn hair catching the light, practicing swordplay with companions or taming the wild horse Bucephalus, a feat that wins his father's pride and foreshadows his ability to bend even the untamed to his will. By 336 BCE, at age 20, Alexander ascends the throne after Philip's assassination, inheriting a restless kingdom and a seasoned army. Picture him in a marble hall, his voice steady despite his youth, rallying nobles to secure Macedon against rebellious tribes and Greek city-states. His first campaigns are swift. He crushes the Thracians in the north, their hill forts falling to his cavalry charges, and subdues Thebes, raising it as a warning to others. The air is thick with dust and the cries of the defeated, yet Alexander's gaze is already eastward, toward Persia, the vast empire of Darius III, whose gold and armies dwarf his own. In 334 BCE, he crosses the Hellespont with 40,000 men. Landing in Asia Minor, Imagine the Granicus River, its banks lush with reeds, where Persian satraps meet him in battle. Alexander leads a daring cavalry charge across the water, his silver helmet gleaming, breaking their lines with precision. The clash of bronze on leather shields a rhythmic din. Victory here opens Anatolia, cities like Sardis surrendering without a fight. The air grows warmer, scented with olive groves and sea salt, as he marched to Issus in 333 BCE. Picture the narrow coastal plain where Darius's larger army awaits, chariots glinting in the sun. Alexander outmaneuvers them, his phalanx holding the center while he flanks with his companions, scattering the Persians and capturing Darius's family, though the king flees. The campaign continues, relentless yet methodical. In Tyre, a Phoenician island fortress, Alexander builds a causeway under arrow fire. The sea air heavy with pitch as his siege engines breach the walls after 7 months. Egypt welcomes him as a liberator from Persian rule, and in 331 BCE he founds Alexandria, a city destined to shine as a beacon of learning, its streets laid out under a sky of endless blue. At Gaugamela, the decisive clash, picture a vast plain in Mesopotamia, the air dry and charged with tension. Darius fields war elephants and scythed chariots, but Alexander's feigned retreat lures them into disorder, his cavalry striking like a thunderbolt. Darius flees again, his empire crumbling, and Alexander enters Babylon, its ziggurats rising above palm-lined canals, the air rich with incense and surrender. Now envision the march eastward through Persia's heart Susa, Persepolis, where Alexander burns the royal palace, perhaps in vengeance for Athens' destruction, the flames casting shadows on golden reliefs. The air grows thinner as he crosses the Hindu Kush, pursuing rebels into Bactria and Sogdiana, where he marries Roxana, a local princess, blending east and west. By 326 BCE, in India, he faces King Porus at the Hydaspes River, the monsoon rains soaking the earth, the air heavy with mud and blood. His victory, won through a daring night crossing, is costly, and his men, weary after a decade of war, refuse to march further at the Bees River. Picture Alexander, his face lined with exhaustion, agreeing to turn back, his dream of reaching the world's edge unfulfilled. The return is grueling through the Gedrosian desert, where heat and thirst claim thousands, the air shimmering with mirages as men stumble over cracked earth. In Babylon, in 323 BCE, at age 32, Alexander falls ill, perhaps from fever or poison, his body weakening in a palace by the Euphrates, the air thick with myrrh and despair. His death leaves his empire fragmented, his generals carving out kingdoms, yet his vision of cultural fusion, Greeks and Persians intermingling, plants seeds for the Hellenistic age. Picture his final moments, his voice faint, naming no clear heir, his legacy a mosaic of cities and ideas stretching from Egypt to India. As we leave Alexander, imagine the campfires of his army, their glow fading into the night, a quiet testament to a man who chased the horizon and reshaped the world. As the campfires of Alexander's empire dim into the sands of Babylon, let us drift back to the eternal banks of the Nile, where the rhythms of life and death were woven into the fabric of a timeless civilization. Picture yourself in ancient Egypt during the New Kingdom, around 1550 BCE, in a world where the gods held sway and the journey beyond life was as vital as the one within it. We now explore the Book of the Dead, a collection of spells and illustrations on papyrus, crafted to guide souls through the perils of the afterlife. Settle deeper into your place of rest, and let the soft rustle of reeds and the faint scent of lotus blossoms guide you through this tranquil exploration, crafted to soothe your mind as it wanders through the mysteries of Egyptian eternity. Imagine standing in a scribe's workshop in Thebes, the air warm and heavy with the scent of ink and freshly cut papyrus, harvested from the marshes where ibises wade. The workshop is a quiet space, its mud-brick walls adorned with images of Thoth, the god of writing, his ibis head bent over a scroll. Before you lies a roll of papyrus, its surface smooth and pale, ready to receive the sacred texts known as the spells for going forth by day, what later scholars would call the Book of the Dead. These are not books in the modern sense, but individualized scrolls, commissioned by the wealthy or prepared for nobles, to be placed in their tombs alongside linen-wrapped bodies and amulets of faience and gold. Picture a scribe, his fingers stained with soot-based ink, dipping a reed pen into a palette of black and red. He writes in hieratic script, a cursive form of hieroglyphs, inscribing spells to protect the deceased in the Duat, the underworld. The text is interspersed with vignettes, vivid illustrations painted in ochre, malachite green, and lapis blue depicting the soul's journey. One shows the heart weighed against the feather of Mat, the goddess of truth, in the hall of judgment, where Anubis, jackal-headed, adjusts the scales, and Ammit, the devourer, waits to consume unworthy hearts. The air in the workshop is still, broken only by the soft scratch of the pen and the scribe's murmured recitation, ensuring each spell is flawless, a bridge between worlds. The Book of the Dead, evolving from earlier pyramid texts and coffin texts, contains some 200 spells, though no single scroll holds them all. Imagine unrolling one, its length stretching up to 20 feet, revealing a sequence tailored to the deceased, a noblewoman, perhaps named Merit, whose tomb lies in the Valley of the Nobles. Spell 1 invokes protection for her soul, or Ba, as it leaves the body, while spell 125, the most famous, prepares her for judgment before Osiris, Lord of the Underworld. Here, Merit recites the negative confession, denying sins. I have not stolen. I have not lied. I have not caused pain. The words, written in neat columns, are a moral code, reflecting a society that valued harmony and truth, the air of the tomb imagined as cool and scented with myrrh as her spirit speaks. The vignettes are a gallery of belief. Picture spell 17, where Merit's Ba, depicted as a human-headed bird, soars over fields of reeds in the afterlife, a paradise of eternal harvests. Another shows her navigating the gates of the Duat, guarded by serpents and demons, each spell a key to pass unharmed. Spell 110 paints her in the field of reeds, plowing with a golden hoe, a vision of eternal labor that mirrors earthly life but promises abundance without toil. The colors red for power, green for rebirth, leap from the papyrus, their precision a testament to artisans who mixed pigments with gum arabic, the air tinged with the faint, sweet smell of their work. The mystery lies in the spell's purpose and power. Were they literal instructions, believed to magically aid the soul, or symbolic guides for spiritual preparation? Egyptologists note that spells often varied, some standardized, others bespoke, suggesting a flexible tradition. The heart-weighing scene, central to many scrolls, reflects a deep concern with judgment, the feather of Mat a delicate counterbalance to human flaws. Yet practical spells, like those to prevent the heart from betraying its owner during judgment, hint at a fear of betrayal even in death. The air of the do-it, imagined as thick with unseen dangers. Archaeological finds, like the Scroll of Ani, a Theban scribe, reveal meticulous artistry, its vignettes preserved in the dry sands of tombs. Their discovery in the 19th century, sparking wonder at a culture obsessed with eternity. Consider the cultural world that birthed these texts. The Egyptians saw life as a preparation for death. Their temples and tombs built to last beyond mortal years. The air around them alive with offerings of bread and beer to sustain the dead. Priests recited spells during mummification, ensuring the body's preservation, while families commissioned scrolls, their cost a mark of status. The Book of the Dead was not for the poor, whose afterlife hopes rested on simpler charms, highlighting a society stratified even in death. Yet its spells, with their poetic cadence, "I am pure, I am pure, I am pure," carry a universal longing for transcendence, a whisper of hope that resonates across millennia. As you linger over these painted spells, imagine Merit's tomb, sealed with her scroll. The air within silent, the papyrus a silent guardian of her journey. The Book of the Dead is both map and mystery, a testament to a people who saw death not as an end, but a passage. Their words a soft echo in the eternal night. As the rhythmic chants of the Maori Pa fade into the Pacific night, let us journey across continents to a time of soaring spires and fervent faith, where the air resonates with the clink of chisels and the murmur of pilgrims. Picture yourself in 12th century France on the Isle de France at the construction site of Chartres Cathedral, a masterpiece of Gothic architecture rising from the earth. You are a stone mason, one of countless artisans shaping limestone into a monument to the divine, your days bound by the rhythm of craft and devotion. Settle deeper into your place of rest, and let the soft scrape of tools and the distant toll of a bell guide you through this tranquil narrative, crafted to soothe your mind as it wanders through the quiet labor of a medieval world. Imagine awakening at first light in a communal lodge near the cathedral site, a timber-framed shelter with a straw-covered floor, the air thick with the musty scent of damp wool and the faint smoke from a central fire. You rise from a pallet of coarse sacking, your body stiff from yesterday's work, dressed in a linen tunic and hose, patched from months of use, and a leather apron to shield against stone dust. The lodge hums with the low voices of fellow masons, quarrymen, carvers, and mortar mixers, sharing a breakfast of rye bread and watered ale, the meal simple but sustaining, eaten by the glow of tallow candles. Your day begins as the morning mist lifts, revealing the skeletal frame of Chartres, its half-built towers piercing the sky, their limestone blocks glowing pale gold in the dawn. The site is a hive of activity, the air alive with the creak of wooden cranes, the thud of mallets, and the chant of monks offering prayers for the workers' safety. As a mason, you are part of a skilled guild, your craft learned through years of apprenticeship, your hands calloused from wielding chisel and hammer. You join your team at a carving yard, a sprawl of stone blocks and sawdust, where the scent of freshly cut limestone sharp and mineral mingles with the damp earth beneath your boots. Your task is to shape blocks for the cathedral's flying buttresses, the arched supports that allow its walls to soar with stained glass windows. Picture yourself selecting a limestone slab, quarried from pits miles away and hauled by ox cart, its surface rough under your fingers. You trace a template, etched on parchment by the master mason, marking curves with charcoal. With a steel chisel and wooden mallet, you strike in a steady rhythm, chips flying like sparks, the stone yielding to reveal smooth planes and precise angles. The work is meticulous, each block needing to fit seamlessly, the air filled with the tap-tap of your tools and the distant clatter of scaffolding being raised. Morning stretches into midday, the sun warming the yard, your tunic dusted white with stone powder, your brow damp with sweat. The labor is backbreaking, your shoulders aching from lifting blocks or climbing ladders to check alignments. Accidents loom, falling stones, collapsing scaffolds, yet you work with care, guided by the guild's code and the shared goal of a structure that will outlast you. A brief pause comes at noon, when a bell signals a meal. A bowl of pottage, thick with barley and leeks, shared with comrades under a canvas awning, the air warm with the scent of baked earth and the faint perfume of wildflowers from nearby fields. Afternoon brings more carving, perhaps a decorative element, a gargoyle, its grotesque face emerging under your chisel, designed to spout rainwater from the roof. The process is slow, the stone unforgiving, but there's a quiet satisfaction in seeing the creature take shape, its toothy grin a small mark of your skill. You consult with the master mason, a grizzled figure with ink-stained fingers, who inspects your work, nodding approval, his voice low but firm. The cathedral's design, with its pointed arches and ribbed vaults, is a marvel of engineering, the air around it charged with a sense of divine purpose, though your focus remains on the stone before you, each strike a step toward eternity. As evening nears, the light softens, casting long shadows across the site, the cathedral's silhouette a jagged prayer against the sky. You finish your block, brushing away dust to reveal its clean lines, ready for the crane to hoist it into place. The day's end brings a reckoning with the guild steward, who records your output, your wages a few deniers. Enough for bread and a bit of cheese, decreased by dues to maintain the guild's lodge and tools. You walk back to the lodge, your body weary, the path lit by torches and the glow of hearth fires from nearby homes. Supper is another simple meal, lentil stew, and a crust of bread shared with tailies of the day, the air now cool, scented with pine and the promise of rest. Night falls, and you join a quiet gathering by the fire, where a minstrel strums a lute, singing of Charlemagne or local saints, the melody a soft counterpoint to the day's labor. The cathedral, half-built, looms in your mind, a testament to faith and craft, its completion decades away, beyond your lifetime. Sleep comes on your palate, the lodge filled with the snores of your fellows, the distant hoot of an owl blending with the memory of chisels. Your life, one of skill and struggle, is a small but vital thread in the tapestry of Chartres, a monument rising from the hands of many, its stones a silent hymn to the ages. As we leave the mason's world, let the gentle echo of hammer on stone carry you forward, its rhythm a quiet promise of rest. As the rhythmic clink of chisels at Chartres fades into the medieval twilight, let us journey eastward to a land of vast steppes and gilded palaces, where ambition and intellect shaped an empire's destiny. Picture yourself in 18th century Russia, in the opulent halls of St. Petersburg, during the reign of one of history's most remarkable rulers. We now follow the story of Catherine the Great, a German princess who rose to become Empress of Russia, her life a tapestry of cunning, reform, and grandeur. Settle deeper into your place of rest, and let the soft rustle of silk and the distant chime of a clock guide you through this tranquil narrative, crafted to soothe your mind as it wanders through the intricate world of an enlightened monarch. Imagine a young Sophie August, born in 1729 in Stettin, then part of Prussia. In a modest noble household where the air carries the scent of wax polish and freshly baked rye bread. The daughter of a minor prince, Sophie grows up in a world of strict etiquette, her days filled with lessons in French, music, and embroidery, the air of her chambers warmed by a tiled stove. Her mother, ambitious for status, sees her as a pawn in European alliances. At 14, picture her traveling across snowy plains to Russia, her breath visible in the chill, to meet Empress Elizabeth, who seeks a bride for her nephew, Peter, heir to the throne. The journey is long, the air heavy with the scent of pine and leather from the carriage, but Sophie's sharp mind absorbs every detail, her future already taking shape. In St. Petersburg, renamed Catherine upon converting to Orthodoxy, she marries Peter in 1745, entering a court of dazzling splendor and treacherous intrigue. Picture the Winter Palace, its halls lined with mirrors and gold leaf, the air thick with rosewater and candle wax. Peter, immature and erratic, prefers toy soldiers to governance, leaving Catherine isolated. Her days spent reading Montesquieu and Voltaire by lamplight, the ideas of the Enlightenment shaping her vision. The air of her private chambers is quiet, save for the scratch of her quill as she writes letters, cultivating allies among nobles and guards, her ambition cloaked in charm. By 1762, after years of a strained marriage, Catherine seizes power in a bloodless coup. Imagine her in a borrowed military uniform, astride a white horse, rallying the Orlov brothers and the Preobrazhensky Guard, the air charged with the clop of hooves and the murmurs of loyalty. Peter III is deposed, later dying under mysterious circumstances, and Catherine is crowned empress in Moscow's Kremlin. The cathedral's air heavy with incense and the weight of destiny. Her rule begins with a vision of a modern Russia, blending absolutism with reform, her decrees penned in a study scented with ink and lavender. Picture her daily routine as empress, rising early in the Peterhof Palace, its fountains sparkling in the Baltic sun. She breakfasts on black bread and coffee, a nod to simplicity, in a room adorned with Chinese porcelain and silk tapestries. Her mornings are spent with advisors, the air filled with the rustle of maps as she oversees expansions into Crimea and Poland, her voice calm but resolute. She reforms laws inspired by Beccaria, easing serf punishments, though full emancipation remains elusive, the air of the council chamber thick with debate and the scent of sealing wax. Her patronage of the arts flourishes, founding the Hermitage, inviting Diderot, her court, a beacon of culture, the air alive with the strains of a harpsichord. Midday brings a light meal borscht, rye dumplings, and kvass served in a dining hall overlooking gardens, the air warm with summer blooms. Catherine walks the grounds, her dress of velvet and lace trailing softly, discussing philosophy with courtiers or planning a new academy. Her afternoons involve correspondence, her letters to Voltaire sharp-witted, the air of her study heavy with parchment and ambition. She navigates affairs with favorites like Gregory Potemkin, whose vision for southern expansion aligns with hers, their meetings discreet, the air tinged with musk and secrecy. Evening hosts grand balls or theatricals, the palace aglow with chandeliers, the air rich with perfume and the clink of crystal goblets. Catherine, in a gown embroidered with silver thread, dances a minuet or converses with ambassadors, her laughter a tool of diplomacy. Yet her mind never rests, planning smallpox inoculation campaigns or codifying laws, her reforms balancing progress with the nobility's power. The air grows cooler as night falls, and she retires to her chambers, the distant Neva River reflecting moonlight, her thoughts on Russia's vast future. Her later years, until her death in 1796, are marked by challenges rebellions like Pugachev's, strained relations with her son Paul. But her legacy endures, a Russia modernized, expanded, and culturally vibrant. Picture her final moments, surrounded by velvet drapes and loyal attendants, the air soft with the scent of candles, her life a testament to intellect and will. As we leave Catherine's world, let the gentle chime of a palace clock carry you forward, its rhythm a quiet promise of rest. As the gilded halls of Catherine's Russia fade into the northern night, let us journey back to the cradle of civilization, where the first cities rose along fertile rivers under a scorching sun. Picture yourself in ancient Mesopotamia around the 3rd millennium BCE in the city of Ur, a bustling center of trade and culture on the banks of the Euphrates. Here we explore the cuneiform tablets, clay records etched with wedge-shaped script, preserving the stories, laws, and lives of the Sumerians. Settle deeper into your place of rest, and let the soft rustle of palm fronds and the faint scent of baked clay guide you through this tranquil narrative, crafted to soothe your mind as it wanders through the ancient whispers of a lost world. Imagine standing in a scribe's workshop in Ur, a mud brick room shaded by a reed awning, the air thick with the dusty aroma of sun-dried clay and the faint sweetness of date wine. Before you lies a stack of damp clay tablets, their surfaces smooth and pliable, ready to receive the stylus's mark. The scribe, trained from youth, grips a reed stylus, its tip cut to a wedge, and presses it into the clay, forming cuneiform wedge-shaped signs that capture the Sumerian language. The air is warm, alive with the hum of the city beyond, merchants haggling over barley, priests chanting in ziggurat courtyards, and the distant splash of oars along the river's muddy banks. These tablets, small enough to hold in your hand or as large as a book, are the Sumerian's voice across millennia. Picture one, its surface crowded with angular marks, recording a contract for sheep traded between neighbors, the quantities listed in precise symbols for Awe and Ram. Another details the myth of Inanna's descent to the underworld, her journey through 7 gates, a poetic echo of divine struggle, the air of the workshop seeming to hold the weight of her tale. Cuneiform, developed around 3000 BCE, is one of humanity's earliest writing systems, evolving from pictographs to a script capable of laws, literature, and astronomy. The tablets, once inscribed, are baked in kilns or sun-dried, their clay hardening to preserve words for eternity, the air around them tinged with the smoky scent of firing. The mystery of these tablets lies in their scope and purpose. Imagine a royal archive in Ur, its shelves stacked with thousands of tablets, cataloging everything from tax records to hymns. The standard of Ur, a mosaic of lapis and shell, depicts feasts and battles, but the tablets tell the daily pulse, a king's decree to repair canals, a farmer's debt in grain, or a priestess's offering to Nana, the moon god. Recent anlations deciphering signs once obscure reveal economic precision accounts of wool measured in mena or poetic depth, like the Epic of Gilgamesh etched in tiny wedges, its hero's quest for immortality resonating in the quiet air. Were these tablets purely practical, or did they hold sacred power, their words a bridge to the gods? Archaeological finds, like those from Sir Leonard Woolley's 1920s excavations, paint a vivid picture. Picture the royal cemetery of Ur, where tablets were found near golden lyres and headdresses, the air of the dig heavy with earth and anticipation. Some tablets record school exercises, young scribes practicing signs for fish or plow, their errors preserved like fingerprints. Others detail flood myths, perhaps echoing the Euphrates' unpredictable surges, the air of "you're alive with the fear of nature's wrath." Theories suggest cuneiform served both bureaucracy and storytelling, a dual role reflecting a society that balanced order with reverence for the divine, its ziggurats rising like mountains in the flatlands. Consider the cultural world of yore. The city, with its baked brick walls and bustling markets, thrived on trade copper from Oman, lapis from Afghanistan, the air scented with sesame oil and spices. Scribes, often elite men or temple-trained women, were society's memory, their tablets stored in clay envelopes for disputes or rituals. The act of writing was laborious, the stylus's press a deliberate art, yet it captured a worldview where gods like Enlil shaped fate, and floods were both life and destruction. The tablet's survival, buried in collapsed palaces or temple ruins, speaks to their durability, their rediscovery a window into a civilization that birthed cities, laws, and literature. As you linger over these clay records, imagine holding one. Its weight solid, its surface cool, the wedges a silent chorus of voices, kings, scribes, poets speaking across time. The mystery of cuneiform is not just in its decipherment, but in its power to preserve a people's soul. Their stories etched in the earth itself, a quiet testament to their place in the dawn of history.